So coming to the end of another year, 2021 seems to be pretty familiar. It seems a bit like that movie with Bill Murray.
Groundhog Day.
Yeah, that's the one. I think, it's the same thing over and over again. We're now 2 years into this, and it doesn't look like 22 is going to give us too much of a reprieve. It's going to be some similar things again.
I'd still say, what we've seen this year, we're reflecting back on last year, that until we get through this phase of COVID and everybody understands what it means to live in a COVID world, governments are still going to be putting support into the system. We're also seeing consumers saving, the level of savings, particularly in Australia and the US, are at the highest levels they've been since the 1970s. And part of that's around the uncertainty. People don't want to spend this, but also unable to travel, those type of things. So I think we'll see a bit more of that into the new year, until we really understand more about the world that we're going to live in with COVID.
I think that's right. Speaking to many clients, a lot are keen to go and travel and do things, but there's just a lot of uncertainty. They're not sure, they're not feeling like they're ready to pull the trigger and actually go and book that flight just yet.
Yes. Yep.
And I think that's creating a lot of pent-up demand that once people are certain, they'll probably take off and there'll be a lot of people really willing to get out there. But we're now talking booster shots and things like that, which are taking a little bit more time to really understand what it's going to look like going into 2022.
Have you seen, maybe reflecting on that, Guy, have you seen it, have you seen investment markets through 21?
Well, yeah, I think investment markets have been pretty strong through the early part of 2021. There was a bit of a hiccup there in terms of things slowed down and people were a bit uncertain as to what was going to play out. And I think a lot of that's got to do with our valuations getting to a point where they're not sustainable. We've had many conversations about this as to, should you be sitting on the sidelines? And I think that would be a grave mistake at the moment with interest rates the way they are. The amount of monetary policy stimulus being interest rates at all-time lows, but also quantitative easing still happening month on month. And also governments, you look at things both here and in the Northern Hemisphere with Biden's infrastructure packages and those type of things, all supportive of asset prices and things continuing to go higher.
And I think how we've managed portfolios through this period is to be invested. We haven't, and we very rarely will try to market time or think what might happen next. There's been a lot of noise / news over the last month around inflation and is it here to stay into the new year. The Reserve Bank's fairly adamant at the moment that they're not sure when or if inflation will become permanent. We're probably expecting they'll need probably another couple of quarters of results before they can make a determination. We're probably still sitting a little bit in the transitory. We don't see it as a permanent. A lot of what we're hearing is it's the supply and demand issues as opposed to systemic. But it is something that we're watching reasonably closely at the moment.
I think, if you look back, I think it was August, September, I put out an article that was about is it transitory or is it an ongoing concern? And at this stage, I don't think anyone really knows. But yeah, as you say, we'd be erring on the side of it is transitory because of the change in supply and demand dynamics, bottlenecks of supply of goods around the world. So there's a number of factors that sort of make you lead into that, but it's how long is it transitory for? This could be a couple of years before we actually get back to some normality. If we look longer term, wages growth is probably the biggest part that underpins the ability for inflation to be an ongoing. And whilst we're seeing that in some pockets, it's not something that it's probably brought on more because of locked borders. There's certain pockets of the economy, certain skilled labour that's just not able to fill those short gaps at the moment. And you'd imagine that fast forward another 12 or 24 months, hopefully borders are back open, things start to settle down and we're back to a more normality. I should just recap when going back to being quite confident around being invested. you do need to be much more selective about how you're putting together a portfolio and investing at the moment. It's not like, go back 18 months ago, you could probably thrown a dart at a dartboard and you would have probably done okay.
Not that that's how we do it.
That's not how we do it. There's a lot of thought and process. We've got a very robust team around that, and I think the highlights coming out of our investment committee really is that you need to be more selective than ever about how you put a portfolio together. So as 2021 comes to a close, if you need some assistance with your private wealth in 2022, please reach out to your local office. We'd be more than happy to help.
But on that note, we wish everybody else a happy festive holiday season. Hopefully you'll get to those that haven't seen loved ones for a couple of years. Hopefully with the travel restrictions opening up, you'll be able to do that. But stay safe, and we look forward to assisting you in the new year.
Best wishes.